Hello and welcome to the retro for the Contributor Summit North America for 2024. Today is the 10th of December, and this meeting is under the Code of Conduct of the Kubernetes community, which in short basically says be excellent to each other and to your fellow attendees and speakers and respectful. All right. I opened up the notes doc somewhere. All right. And let me share this as well. Share. Chrome tab, RetroDoc. Is it visible? It is, but probably I need to move you here.
Yep,
Can you see the screen?
Tall.
Super.
It's tall and skinny.
That's my. Now it's better.
You say
Yes, there you go.
you say it's very hipster Gen Z, but no. Okay. I'm gonna do it all in upright phone format.
Why not?
No, I have just monitors that are.
Yes.
The other way.
Landscape.
Yes. Language is. I'm 1.5 week left until vacation. I'm completely gone already. All right. So yeah, let's quickly go over things that went well.
Okay. Do you want me to roll through the first 7 comments, which are mine?
Yes. Please go ahead.
I mean, actually, what we had for this particular one was we had a lot of stuff that we had, in fact, tried to do on previous summits, and this time had successfully carried out with good results. So a well-advertised early CFP meant that we got lots of session submissions. Getting the video from the staff of the venue really helped us plan our layout and everything else. Pretty much the day ran on time. We did not end up, running half an hour behind, which has happened at other summits. And part of that was, adding the extra 5 minutes between sessions really made a difference. We had great volunteer turnout. Actually, I don't think anybody didn't show who didn't warn me ahead of time. We had one volunteer who got lost and showed up 15 minutes late for their shift, and that was it. Definitely doing the staff and attendee stickers was a good idea because of the whole WASM Day thing. The lunch food was good and had good vegetarian options. Karaoke rooms, having the little karaoke rooms at the social was really good. We tried to do karaoke at the socials before, but did like main stage karaoke, which meant that people were too nervous to actually do it. But having a private karaoke room, people went for it. So those are my initial comments. Oh, you just scrolled down. There we go. It's right here.
I'm here. Yeah. I put one where from my perspective, the unconference sessions was published at a good time for folks to be aware and attend. And the ones I took notes at were well attended.
And it was for we actually needed to turn down unconference sessions because we had so many unconference sessions. We actually needed to turn down unconference sessions, which is also good, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I needed to throw a coin because the last spot was equal from the amounts of upvotes, so then I needed to throw a coin to make a decision.
Yeah, I was just adding it. I would say, because I was running ops, I only got into 3-4 sessions during the day, but everything I was in was well attended. This was actually a very different thing because some summits, people pretty much hang out in the lobby and spend the whole time talking. And this one, I would say, at any given time slot, 80% of the attendees were in a session. And I think that speaks to the whole chain, right? Which is we got lots of submissions, so we were able to pick really high quality sessions, which meant that people wanted to be in them.
Yeah. Any other thing that went well from anyone else's perspective?
Got the using private Slack channel for coordination to work. The trick was to warn people multiple times ahead of time that they would need to leave their Slack notifications on. Because we tried the Slack channel thing previously, but didn't anticipate that a lot of people. There's already an item for it. Didn't anticipate that people turned their notifications off during KubeCon. And so I said, leave them on, turn them off at the end of the summit.
Yeah.
And that worked.
And one thing was having the meet and greet on Thursday versus Friday, which we've had in the past few KubeCons. I think it's better for maintainers since a lot of maintainer track sessions on Friday, and some KubeCons, I feel like it's less attended on Fridays as well.
Let me quickly put the link in the Slack. Yeah, I have the same issue. Give me a second. All right. Anything else that went well?
Actually, pretty much everything that we ordered in terms of swag and materials and everything showed up, which is not something to take for granted at any conference event. So,
Yeah, I think we are still missing the stuff from Paris. In general, I liked also the room setup for everything beside the main track hall. Because if we would have, if they would have split one of the rooms, it would have been perfect. Where all of those 4 session rooms were together, this would even have been better. Because the main room was kind of off. Yeah.
So wait, what are you saying about rooms?
The rooms were pretty nice. That they were already that they were also again located close to each other, and Yeah, you don't have had
Um,
too much working distance, and we were more or less separated from WasamCon.
not that we'll be doing ops again, but did people feel like using the clipboards worked well for volunteer positions?
I did.
It,
Yep.
it looked like they did, yeah.
All right, then let's go to things that didn't go so well.
Yeah, first one's a limitation, which is because of where we were, we couldn't let people necessarily bring their family to the social because of Utah alcohol laws. The registration opening time made things a little bit awkward in terms of getting set up early before anyone showed up. And that is something to follow up on for the Maintainer Summit, because it could potentially be an issue with the Maintainer Summit as well, with getting badges to people who are working it. The whole WasamCon thing was a problem, because not only were we not told that we were going to be sharing space with WasamCon after having been told for months that we were not sharing space with anyone, but because of how the convention center was laid out, the WasamCon attendees had to walk through our space to get to and from WasamCon. This has actually been kind of a continuous problem with arranging space for summits, which is controllable space is really important for the summits, because otherwise, keeping track of who is and isn't participating becomes a real headache. And it's something that the Linux Foundation always ends up compromising on. And I don't really know what to do about it.
The problem is that I see there is that if you don't have someone that is strictly monitoring the badges, and this can only be done by staff that is only doing this, and even they get lax because on Friday, for example, they also let in the folks earlier into the show floor. This is not something that you can counter. You can only counter this by having stricter door monitors.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that is, well, they did assign us staff and security and that sort of thing. They really weren't up to the complexity of having 2 different events in the space. Like, if people knew where they didn't know where they were going and were obviously lost, security would direct them to the correct event. But for people who just plowed ahead, security just let them go.
As far as I heard, the security was also, it was their first time on the at the Salt Palace.
Yeah, that was something I observed when we were doing the walkthrough and everything else. I don't know where they got the security company, but they were not familiar with the layout of the Salt Palace at all.
Yeah, security kept directing me to the wrong place, so I had to give them maps of the layout.
So is that to say that the conference venue, well, I guess it's a CNCF question, but the conference venue didn't have some assigned staff already for security and we brought in extra, I guess? Yes?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
usually they do. I mean, conference centers almost always do. The
Right.
security people are temps.
Yeah.
But usually at most facilities we go to, those security temps come from companies where that company regularly contracts for those things. And as a result, 2/3 of them will have done previous events. at that venue.
Makes
And
sense.
in this particular case with Assault Palace, it seemed that none of the people who were security temps had ever done an event at the Salt Palace before.
But we
Wow.
don't know the background. If this was
Yeah.
a last minute decision because something went wrong or something like this. So yeah.
Yeah, and actually I kind of wonder if that security firm may have been partly a charity or rehab thing, just from meeting some of the security folks. Like they seemed like they might have been disabled veterans or something like that. So but it did lead to issues of them really not being able to enforce badging, leaving it to us.
All right. Next up is group photo at the end of the day is a pain. It would be nice to move it after lunchtime when most people are there. I kind of disagree with this, to be honest, because it's always if we do it after lunch, people are lunchtime is basically the first big time where people engage with each other. They haven't seen each other for a long time. They want to do socialize, and if you stuff them again, and also it's after lunch, and you don't want to be pushed around after lunch. And after the photo, it will you will need some more time to get people back into the tracks and so on and so off. So you will lose more time, and we will see how the maintainer summit will go, because any big or any graduated project will get a maintainer photo or a contributor photo. So we will have to do multiple pictures in the future. And I always would rather move them towards the end. Also, it's a good closing thing. Come together,
Right.
and then off you go. That's
Yeah,
my personal opinion.
I don't see after lunch working either. Like I understand why Cyprian suggested that, but given that getting people to get into the first session after lunch is always a hassle. The idea of getting them to pose for a photograph and then getting them into a session, I pretty much think it would inevitably lead to the after lunch sessions going off schedule and being delayed.
Yeah.
So there was another one here that Cyprian put in about awards being mixed up and misrouted. I followed up with him when he made this comment, and he has not responded to me about what award was supposedly misrouted.
The only thing that was happening is I fucked up and did a copy paste error when I put it on the website, and the only thing what one person came back that the one person that I basically marked wrongly, or not marked wrongly, I the one that received one weren't contacted for the address, but usually every award recipient is contacted before to get the address.
And one person who wasn't contacted for the address actually declined it because of carbon conscious reasons to receive any certificate. So I think we are all good with that person. I'm not sure what if there is any other award that was misrouted. I don't think so, but maybe Cyprian knows more. I would love to know more.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for the award list, by the way. I appreciate it.
No worries. It was on my to-do list. I just couldn't do it earlier.
Yep.
I don't know what they mean by misrouted here either. They could mean something other than like the award itself was sent to the wrong address. They could mean like the person who was on site at the event didn't know that it was happening and calling that misrouted because they were talking about that here. Or they could mean that it went to the wrong person as a chair. But they didn't
Yeah.
mention
Or-
that. So I don't know what they
or-
mean by misrouted.
Yeah, or frankly, Cyprian heard something from somebody who heard something, and it's not actually a thing.
Yeah, it could be that too.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that I'm aware of is basically where I miscopied the wrong GitHub address. So the
Yeah, but that
person
happened
was
much
right.
later.
Yeah, but this happened Monday or something like that.
Yeah. Cyprian made this comment that, like, he actually added his comments during KubeCon.
Okay,
So-
then
Oh, wow.
I don't
Hmm.
know.
Mars, you might want to ping him just to make absolutely sure that there wasn't any substance behind this.
Yeah. I'll ping Cyprian. Yes.
Yeah, Cyprian also didn't like the beanies.
Yeah, but we discussed I think for like 2 or 3 meetings what is the swag, and we also had, and Josh, you also made the stickers. People could speak up in those meetings, and
Well,
Yeah, and we also try
and actually a lot of our volunteers were quite enthusiastic about them. So noted that Cyprian didn't like his beanie, and he actually really didn't like it. He left it behind. So, but we're not going to get a piece of swag that everyone is going to like.
No.
exactly.
Like that never happens.
And I had 2 people that were so happy that I took their beanies and handed them over on Friday, so that they still got them. So anyway,
And then we have the mess that was the meet and greet, right?
yes, meet and greet.
I have 5 more minutes before I have to jump on another call. So just explain what happened. Just the feather flag signs, I looked up what they were called, were placed at one set of tables, which happened to be the incorrect place, and the meet and greet tabletop signs and buttons were placed in the correct place. So they were in 2 different areas, and then luckily we moved the feather flag signs right before it officially started. And there was a CNCF staff as well, but I thought, but it was someone who we haven't worked with before. So maybe they weren't aware of where this feather flag signs were at a wrong place. Also, not all the buttons and tabletop signs were put out, even though they were in the case, and we're missing some signs. We should have some tabletop signs created, like for SIG TD, several working groups as well. We should confirm which working groups we have signs for, and we create the signs for the new working, or for the working groups we don't have signs for. We ended up, folks ended up writing like SIG TD on another tabletop sign. So, all right, that's it for me, and I do have to jump off, so in a few minutes.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ray.
I mean, I would say
normally
talking to
Brienne sends us a spreadsheet of what materials they have that they're going to bring, and then we confirm that those are right and let them know any things that need to change or that need to be ordered. But that didn't happen this time because there was a mix-up on the CNCF side around who was handling which parts of meet and greet, especially with the space change into the project pavilion space. How much was the project pavilion team handling versus how much was the contributor summit team handling? And then the project pavilion team had lots of issues with the space. George thought that we were going to have like so much space, and then he got there and we only had a small corner compared to what he expected us to have. The tables that were like in front of our area that were covered with folks eating lunch. He expected us to have those ones as well, but the signs for those said that they were free seating during lunch, and he didn't realize that they said that. And he expected us to have like the bean bags and seating areas too, but there were just people in them. So like they didn't plan for sectioning off the space for us, and so it was not reserved.
Yeah, and I mean, basically what I did is the moment the problem became obvious, I went to George, and basically George immediately tried to solve the situation in any given way that and I also talked to Brienne, and I also talked to I'm sorry, give me a second. And I also talked to Lindsay. Lindsay is the new responsible person for the Maintainer Summit, and the meet and greet will now officially move to Lindsay's team. So it will be part of the Maintainer Summit planning, and it will also be part of the Kubernetes part track thingy thing, more or less. And she also gets all of the stuff, all of the boxes, so that we can basically ping her and say like, okay, now we want to refer to this to have a checklist, what is left, who is responsible. I think this was just the problem was that there was a mix up on CNCF side, as Keslin said, and we hope to fix this for London. And we also said that we need a dedicated person to talk to and to be reachable for the meet and greet for London. So hopefully this gets fixed.
Yeah.
But they were aware of this. Sorry.
Kudos to the CNCF folks for like, we had so many CNCF folks there. They like got the building manager involved. They got us tables so fast. I was very impressed with their response, at least.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh.
Yeah, and I'll say from our side, we also had the issue that the people working on the meet and greet, so Kaslin and Ray, were people from our side who also had multiple other responsibilities. So around the summit, and as a result, on neither side was there somebody who was dedicated to making the meet and greet happen.
So, but it was. Go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say, skip it. I did. If you look in things to keep for next time, I on the plane on the way home, actually, I did a little write up for if we wanted to do the meet and greet again on the show floor, what would need to happen in the way of prep for that to actually work. And that's referred to this, is basically both from the volunteer side and from the staff side, we need somebody dedicated to being in charge of it. We need to know in advance before KubeCon where that seating area is going to be so we can have maps and share them out. That area needs to be cordoned off by 11 a.m., probably with ropes, to prevent lunchers from poaching it. Like even if there had been correct signage would not have been sufficient because there's not enough seating for lunch, and so people looking for lunch seating would ignore the signs if there was nowhere else to sit. And signage elsewhere, like sufficient signage elsewhere directing people to where it was. I'm not sure whether we should try to do it on the show floor again, but if we wanted to, that's what we would need to have it be a success.
I mean, in general, I liked it that it was on the show floor, because it was way more approachable. We had at least from my observation, we had a couple of folks joining more than we have usual in the other rooms.
Which is saying something.
Yeah,
just dropping by and getting engaged. I mean, in general, the Project Pavilion was like a bustling hub where a lot of folks were just dropping in and off, on and off, which is nice. So I would still go for having it on the show floor in this area, because it's also easier to direct people, especially like we did with social media announcements and stuff like this. And
Yeah.
we had a lot of social media announcements for this.
I think if we'd been more spread out and had actual places for people to sit, and we were like in the lunch area, especially like if it was cordoned off, but it had signage of like, this is the Kubernetes meet and greet, come and meet Kubernetes contributors. Like, I think we would have interested people who are eating lunch who just want to talk to someone,
Yeah.
come and join us, which we've never had the opportunity for before.
Yeah. Which the only downside, and let's be honest there, the different SIGs need to spread out more.
Well, they couldn't.
They couldn't
I
this
know,
time.
I know, but still, also when we tend to cluster. Let's put it this way, right?
Yeah. Usually the meet and greet ends up being an opportunity for contributors to talk with each other. And so folks may be used to that and want to kind of cluster together. So, but if
Yeah.
we make it clear what the space is in advance and stuff, and it's clear when people get there, I think it'll be okay.
Yeah. But I agree, especially with cordon off the meet and greet seating. I think this would have helped. And also have a dedicated person for this planning. And this is something that I will bring up with the next ContribX meeting, that we plan something for London to have like a contact person that I can forward to Lindsay.
I'm also going to put, what would actually be good is if we could put out the table signs by 11 a.m. Because that means that people who specifically want to go to the meet and greet and say specifically want to talk to SIG Network, who are grabbing the lunch early, can grab the lunch early and sit at the appropriate table, even if the SIG Network people aren't there yet.
Yeah.
So to basically just have the whole setup be, an hour before lunch. And then that'll make it obvious that there's something going on and people won't poach.
And maybe change the signage, as Caslin said, to be more inviting. Because the signage was not necessarily inviting, it was reserved for Kubernetes meet and greet.
Yep.
Yeah, we need some signage that's like, this is the Kubernetes meet and greet. Come and meet us. Make it more like a meetup within the lunch.
Yeah. The other thing actually I'd like to consider if we are overhauling this and we have the energy is redo the SIG signs to not just be the name of the SIG, but to have the name of the SIG and like maybe a tagline for each SIG.
I feel like I feel like I like the idea of having that somewhere, but I don't know if the sign on the table is the best place. Maybe it is. I feel like you're gonna have to, like, if they're round tables, which I think is good, then you're gonna have to like reach over people to look at the sign long enough to read it, or it's gonna have to be really, really big. It'd be difficult to read a description of the SIG while you're looking around all the tables.
Those signs are usually small too, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, then the other possibility would be, what about an easel, or like we'd actually have like two easels, one on either side of the area. But
like a directory would be nice.
Yeah.
Actually, that'd be good for people as they arrive too, because it was such chaos with everybody trying to set up their own stuff when they arrived. If we had like a pre-planned, here is who goes where, and we just put that up, and if you arrive first, we could still have people put out their own stuff if they wanted to, but we wanted to do that early anyway, so we probably won't do that. But having a map of like who's where would be nice, and then having the descriptions.
Yeah, this would basically also require that we have the table set up before.
Yeah. Well, one of the good things about the
Not
Maintainer Summit
necessarily.
being more in the hands of staff for general operations
Yeah.
is that theoretically more of us can spend time on planning the meet and greet.
Yeah.
I do want to cover one of my comments for the things that did not go well, because this will also apply to the Maintainer Summit, which is CNCF was trying, we've had a couple of summits where we've had kind of dramatic over orders in terms of shirts, and they were trying to avoid that this time, and they swung too far the other way. And they did not have enough shirts for all the attendees. Particularly in small and medium sizes. So
I will just take this with me because, to be honest, I don't know yet how. I know that we get a T-shirt for the Kubernetes, and honestly, I don't know how this will play out, how this will be planned. But usually I mean, when you register for the summit, then you need to put in your size, and then they order extra. So this basically can only mean that people either grabbed a size that they didn't order.
Well, no, because the final T-shirt order goes in before registration closes. So we're ordering.
Has traditionally.
When I didn't it this time, because registration didn't close until Friday. Surely.
Yeah, it did this time. I'm just saying I don't know if it will for Maintainer Summit.
When
Oh,
is
they're
the
going to close
last day?
registration early, is what you're saying.
I think the
They might,
registration
I don't
will
know.
be the registration will close as KubeCon registration closes, but I don't know when KubeCon
what I thought.
registration closes.
Well, KubeCon registration doesn't really close, does it?
No, not until like Thursday, I think.
Not until it's sold out.
Yep. Anyway, what I'm saying is, however
Maybe
we estimated the shirt demand based on where registration was at the shirt deadline, we underestimated this time.
Yeah.
The and particularly on the smaller end of the spectrum, because we did have leftover like double XL shirts, but at least I would say at least 10 people who are looking for small and medium shirts didn't get them.
Yeah, I will take it with me. And basically tell it the CNCF folks. All right. Anything else that we want to? Yeah, the staff room. To be honest, I don't know if there will be a staff room. This also depends on what still needs to be done in the end from volunteer perspective, but I don't expect it too much. So I mean, content will be finished before this. Meet and greet is not happening at the Maintainer Summit. We don't have to have day of ops, folks. The interesting thing is, and this is something that we should clarify, is Doc Sprint. What will happen to Doc Sprint on the Maintainer Summit?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, we'll have to chat with CNCF, and then I can chat with the rest of SIGDOC's leadership around, if we still want to coordinate that. I think step one is understanding if CNCF still wants to provide space for that. And then from there, I can work with the rest of SIGDOC's leadership on what we want to do.
Yeah.
I think we should make a strong argument for it, because with it being the Maintainer Summit, the Doc Sprint specifically can just be a more inclusive event. So docs for other projects as well.
Yeah.
because we'll have the CNCF documentation staff there.
Okay, basically, I have a meeting on Monday with CNCF for Maintainer Summit, and I will basically ping them and eventually would say that they should then reach out to you, Xander, for coordination and
Sounds good.
Yeah. In terms of ops for the Maintainer Summit, it feels like we're still going to need room proctors for the Kubernetes track.
no, this is also being done by CNCF.
If we
So
want
we-
community taken notes, though, we might want to coordinate our own community note takers for things.
I mean, this is then this is the unconference topic then that there's not have which has not completely been planned yet. Because this is the interesting part of how do we even organize the unconference thing. I mean, I like the general approach that we had with the voluntary room, voluntary note takers, but the unconference session will be cross projects, right? So there will not be like a Kubernetes unconference track. It's like unconference sessions that you can hand in.
Yeah, it might be
And-
more of a best effort. Hey, community, if you're going to these, here's where you could put your notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Which
it
has
depends.
tended not to work
So
well.
yeah, and I think we can actually do something. We have, what is it, a programming committee of 10 people or whatever for the Kubernetes track.
Yeah.
And most of them are intending to be there. So I think I can cajole the program committee to taking up notes duty. Because if you don't have to do anything else, just because notes only apply to unconference sessions and SIG meetings, right? And I think we can have enough people to just cajole folks to take notes.
Yeah, and for
might-
SIG meetings, we are still discussing because they might get a different set of rooms. They might not get the same rooms as we have for the main tracks.
Mhm.
Makes sense.
Is there other stuff we want to think about for future maintainer summits that we learned from this Kubernetes summit?
I mean, in general, so my personal view on the on the contributor summit was it in general went really well.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually kind of annoyed that we're not going to be doing it again because I feel like we really got it nailed with this one, right?
I
we
was
really
very
got it nailed
curious
with this one,
because
and I'm like,
yeah, like, is there anything we could lend CNCF in terms of advice? And will they actually listen? Will be interesting, but we'll see. Yeah.
I mean, that I think that's the reason why Natalie and me are two of the chairs,
Okay.
and we already annoy CNCF folks with questions and remarks to specific topics, and we try also to stop things from or to stop ideas that are not community relevant. Let's put it this way. So basically, that's also good why we have the retro, that I can basically take this with me, and I mean we also have the past retro docs where we have the learnings, and what you need to say is that Lindsay and her team ask a lot of questions and ask a lot of like, how did you do this in the past? How would we do this? What are the pain points? Where how should we approach specific things in the organization. So they are really open, and they asked for our help. So they said, like, we really need your input from previous summits to so that, because they don't know, right? It's a new team. It's a new team who took over this whole thing.
Right. I also want to call out that even if we did well this time, the contributor summit as it had been going had a major sustainability problem. So-
Yes,
The,
that's true.
I did want to bring up something that is under our control for Maintainer Summit, et cetera, in the future that I noticed from this time, which is awards. So, you know, we originally created the contributor awards to, among other things, recognize people who were doing great stuff and didn't necessarily have another title recognizing them in the community. And as a result, if you look at the current award stock, it specifically says, you know, hey, this is not for giving kudos to your existing SIG lead. They're already recognized as a SIG lead.
Yes.
And this time around, we had 2 awards that were actually given to SIG leads by SIGs other than their own.
Oh, wow.
Which is fine, right? Because
Yeah.
they do stuff in a SIG, which, or they did work for a SIG which is not their own SIG, in my opinion.
So they're just contributors in that SIG.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't give an award to a SIG lead for the sake of being a SIG lead and for this for the work that the person has been done in the specific SIG. But for example, you have someone who is a SIG lead in docs, but does a tremendous work in SIG Node. Then they would still count as, just as Keslan said, as a normal contributor, right? Because they could potentially also move up to be a SIG chair or a tech lead there, because we have a couple of folks that are tech leads and or chairs in multiple SIGs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for that matter, we do give awards to people who are ex SIG leads and also.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for somebody to receive an award one year and then become a SIG lead the following year, because after all, we give leadership to people who do a lot of stuff. So, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I noticed that on the list of awards and we didn't really have a sort of policy for it.
I mean, we can write, we can define it and put it up to in the awards part of the of our documentation and make a pull request, and there we can basically discuss it if this is okay for everyone.
Yeah.
By the way, yes, we will continue to have awards. I mean, that's more for Maintainer Summit North America than to figure out how to handle the session, more or less. But that's
yeah,
I don't know.
One of the things maybe for Contribex to discuss is whether or not we should be doing the awards at KubeCon North America, just because Europe is turning into the biggest KubeCon with the highest
attendee rate of
Kubernetes
maintainers.
contributor attendance.
Yeah.
That it is.
I've thought that for a while now, like a couple of years, that like it might make sense to move that. I just haven't voiced it.
But the problem is we have a rather short period. We would have now a rather short period of time if we would move it to London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only thing
can't do that this year.
What we could potentially do, but this would basically stretch it out a little bit, is that we say we will get awards next year, but we will announce them in Amsterdam or we will hold the session in Amsterdam. So this could be the middle ground.
I like
Yeah.
that idea, but we could also start working on the certificate design before the end of the year. That would just give us an extended period to get the design done, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, London might be special, but the other option obviously would be to do awards at both KubeCons, because we are getting into a very long list of awardees, and breaking it up between KubeCons might not be a bad thing.
True.
That's good.
More design work, though. We
What-
might
what
want to
I- what-
consider talking with the CNCF about if they could help with that.
What I would also think about is, do other projects also want to hand out awards?
Yep.
Ooh. And how do these awards conflict with CNCF awards and so forth, so on?
Yes.
The
Another
And-
idea is to let us every SIG can choose if they want to present at EU or North America, because they know where will be most of their attendees, probably, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Or when
And
or
they
where
can
the
choose.
recipients will attend.
Yes, and they can say, hey, we will do it in London. We know our folks will be in London, or we will wait until Atlanta or Los Angeles and do the North
Or
America.
Japan, or China, or
Japan.
India.
Yes,
Yeah, this-
It
exactly.
might be a good idea to
Yeah.
ask the CNCF about managing this. Like, they could design one award that is like the contributor award, and they could put the name of the project or SIG like on the award, and they could like manage that whole process, and then they could do it the same at every KubeCon for a year.
Mhm.
I kind of feel like we really want to have a separate award for Kubernetes, or separate design. I'm not eager to intermingle our awards with awards for
I don't disagree, but
all of the
also
projects in the CNCF.
if we that could be it the point about it being more accessible at other KubeCons is an interesting one, though.
Yeah.
I will point out that the CNCF has not committed whether or not there will be any kind of a maintainer summit in Japan or India,
Yeah,
and I don't think they've decided yet.
that's a good point.
So,
And also, like, gathering the nominations. If you
Right.
did it at every one, that would be a lot of work for SIG leads. So
And-
condensing it to one is condensing the work for SIG leads.
And also, it's basically when we look at China and Japan next year, it's 2 weeks apart or something like this.
Less than a week, I think. It's very close. 1 or 2 weeks
Yeah.
apart.
I mean, obviously, I like the idea of having some awards given in India and Japan, particularly to Indian or East Asian contributors, right? Because better chance they'll be present to receive their award. Although we have not been handing people awards on stage for a while, so
Yeah.
This is true.
but we don't know
mean-
that there's going to be an opportunity to do so, because they may decide, hey, we're not doing maintainer summits in India or Japan.
Also,
and then where would we do it?
I think announcing the awards at a large contributor gathering has important function in our community, because, like, think of elections for steering. You're more likely to get elected for steering if the community knows who you are, and the community outside of your SIG and the folks you directly work with knowing your name. Awards help a lot with that. Name recognition, both in the community and in other communities,
Mhm.
matters.
How do we give people awards at an event that happens 5 times a year?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is,
This is an interesting
you
problem,
know,
right? Like, seriously.
except for the mental load for the SIG leads, there's no reason why we couldn't have a rolling award thing where we give out a few awards at each event.
Yeah, it's just it becomes more
but-
regional at that point, I think. Yeah.
But it's going to be challenging, as Casson points out. It's going to be challenging for the SIG leads because it's an enormous lift. Marsden can testify it's enormous lift to get SIG leads to nominate anybody once a year.
And then still people miss it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's true.
And if you were on top of it and nominating a lot of people, then you have to remember who you nominated last time and make sure that
Mhm.
information is carried forward and the same people aren't nominated again.
That sounds painful. So yes.
We could have one design for the whole year, so that could be not too bad. But we need better processes for making the awards because messing with vector graphics to design each award is a lift.
Yeah, it is a lift. There's got to be a way to manage this, though. I feel like to where like the awards go to the people that are actually in the room, or if they're not in the room, they're somewhere nearby, not half a
Yeah.
But
roll
then
away.
again, also, like, it's nice to give the awards at the places where the people receiving the awards will get them, but also
Mhm.
it's about rewarding them for the work that they have done recently. And so there's a time element to also consider. Like, if someone did some really amazing work in the second half of the year, and then the year rolls over and they're in one of the Asian ones in the summer, then and they don't do anything between when they did an amazing amount of work and nothing. This is always a
Ugh.
problem doing it once a year,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but it makes it even more complex if you try to do it multiple times.
So, yeah, as a more modest thing, I'd like to actually suggest the idea of splitting the awards up between just Europe and North America next year, and throw that out to the SIG leads and see what they think.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is London will be really tight. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So
London,
so only a few people would be getting nominated then.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
I mean, the main problem actually would be in sort of award printing deadline.
I mean, the awards are always printed and shipped, so we don't get them at KubeCon. We will never get
Yeah, logistically, it's too complex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it might and we might not do it for London. This might be something that doesn't kick in until Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Right.
But we might also say with the SIGs, they'd say, look, it's difficult enough for us to do this once a year. We can't do it twice, even if it's fewer people. And if they say that, then we're not doing anything.
What I can do is I can reach out to SIGs that didn't nominate anyone for Salt Lake City, and I can ping them again and say, hey, this is your chance to give something to someone in London if you want.
This would be an option, yes.
Yes, and you have like 1 month to discuss and talk about it. And if they agree, we can nominate, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 folks, and in London we can present some awards and see what will happen. At least I can reach out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll ask.
This is also a point I want to call out, that for awards going forward, we're still going to need to have a Kubernetes volunteer lead to some extent to talk with the SIG leads to gather everything. So if we did it multiple times a year, then we need to consider who's going to serve in that lead position. Because Mars just did it and is offering to do it again for another cycle going up to London.
I'm happy to do it, or maybe Laura will agree, and maybe there's another volunteer.
Got to consider the sustainability of it, though. Do we have a pool of people who will be able to do that?
It would be nice to have a pool. That's true.
Yeah.
Even with 5 shadows this time, I'm a little worried about comms. We have 2 people who are going to take it on for the next cycle, but they both have things going on. and I don't know what's going to happen after that. They're not super confident yet as leads, so I'm not sure how many shadows they will get volunteering, or if they do get shadows, how confident those shadows will be taking over after them. I don't know how sustainable things are already.
I mean, eventually, maybe, and this might be a stretch, but maybe we just move all of the maintainer summit communication into comms as part of a.
We've been
Of
too
a-
successful, Chris.
I know.
But-
It's great.
You know,
And
like
we
also-
can still have volunteers too inside
Yes.
comms. Like that's
Yes.
what we need, though, is for people to realize instead of just working on your own, you can now work with comms, which was the case before. I just guess it wasn't as explicit.
There's also the issue that we don't really have a summit team anymore at this point. Something I've been wondering about, like, are we going to have a team of volunteers? Because it's like 3 things that we need done.
Mm-hmm.
Meet and greet, comms,
and
award.
and
And then there's
content.
I need to run all.
things.
Bye, Josh.
Yeah.
Bye, Josh. Thank you.
So it might make sense, especially because comms is such a heavy lift for
Yeah.
comms to just be owned by the comms team on an ongoing basis. But
I mean,
then we need to
I
spin
would-
up an event lead in comms.
I would template it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
like-
everything would become templated at that point. Sure.
Yeah. Then we need to talk about over our AI policy.
I made a huge like new role document handbook thing that I still haven't gotten merged in because there's still lots of feedback to address on it, and then there's more ideas here.
I mean,
there's a start of templating, but it could take a bit.
I mean, the good thing is, especially when we have a look at social media, the social media part of comms, is that they are pretty much scheduled posts, like the communication or the communication that needs to be done for each maintainer summit is more or less the same. It's like 90 days before summit, send out reminder XYZ. 70 days before summit, send out reminder XYZ. You can basically reuse the same emails for every KubeCon. I know it's not that creative and stuff like this, but it takes away the amount of work, right? Change smileys.
I mean,
we don't
see
have
a problem with moving it into comms. I just, as always with comms, I feel like there's only so many people that are going to be there constantly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true too.
But the inverse also applies. If we had like a defined role for like event comms, inside comms, would that be a role that was always staffed? I don't. Yeah. Things to just think about.
Given the amount of KubeCons happening next year and the space between those KubeCons, it's a full-time position in comms for 2025.
Kind of agree. Yeah, I kind of agree.
It's basically 3 months to each KubeCon, and then we have the double KubeCons in the summer.
Yeah.
And we already missed comms for Maintainer Summit.
Basically.
India, yeah.
No, London. The first deadline is passed.
Well, yes.
The first deadline for the CFP is done. And we haven't sent out any comms towards it.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
Open source.
Why do we have to do social media?
I mean, we don't have to. But it certainly
We didn't
helps with
before.
adoption and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, it helps. I mean, it helps visibility, and we have proof that it helps also to drag in more people, which takes off load of other people. But yeah,
Yeah,
But it all takes
that's
work.
always does.
all right. We are 8 minutes over, and I am 8 minutes late to another meeting. Thanks for the participating in the retro. I will set up an appointment for the week after this week for all of the folks that couldn't join because of KubeCon India. You are welcome to join next week as well. If you can't because you're already going into vacation or holidays, I wish you a pleasant holiday time and a good end of the year. And I don't know how to say this in English, so I say it in German. Guten Rutsch. All right, I will stop the recording.